Off top, which team holds the record for most first-round draft picks in a single draft, NFL draft? Play music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. I'm Domonique Foxworth, joined as always by the great Charlie Kravitz, the Vanilla Snack. We're happy to have you back last time, and I think we're going to end the show with a story about you and your Kramers. I don't know if people aren't aware of this already. Charlie is a Kramer himself, who is from a crew of Kramers, which is a weird thing that I didn't know could exist. All the stories from Charlie's friends are absurd. And I heard a really absurd one earlier today, and he promised that he would share it on the show, but we have to put it at the end. And I think we're going to have to put some more disclaimers around it when we get there.
We'll see if we get to that story.
I can't tease it. We have to get. You already told me you were going to tell it.
It's fine.
Get nervous?
I'm a little bit nervous.
You don't have to put a name on it.
It's all right.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. Is the answer to your off top the University of Miami?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's during the early 2000s dynasty when they had the year was 2004. They had Andre Johnson plus running back plus Shockey plus Sean Taylor plus Mike Rumpf and Philip Buchanan and Vince Wilfork and DJ McDougal and Dan Morgan. That whole defense was first round picks. So I'm assuming it's in that year, in that era. Santana Moss, Reggie Wayne, all those guys. It's Alabama was the other one. It's Georgia had 5 in 2022. Yep. Alabama had 6 in 2021.
We'll get deep into our draft stuff eventually, but I think I got a confession to make.
What's your confession?
I think I'm a Celtics fan now.
Well, can we get into this? Why? So there are rumors abound about Jayson Tatum coming back soon. They lost Jayson Tatum, but they have not fallen. They're not.
Which is why I'm a Celtics fan. I know we're going to get into the conversation about whether Tatum should come back or not whether he comes back. When he comes back, how it's going to affect Jaylen Brown and all that stuff. And I think that's interesting for the team. We'll get to that. Mm-hmm. But you know how I feel. I think you could probably guess why I'm a big Celtics fan. Or not a big Celtics fan.
Organizational stability. We're not tanking.
We're not tanking is the big one.
Yeah.
Because we're at this.
Respect your players. Put them in spots to win. Development. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
I like how you say it like it's boring and it sucks, but it is the best thing ever. Oh, you're just tired of hearing me say it. I get it. Yeah.
There's plenty of things to be excited about. You said, why am I excited about them? It's we're playing the hits.
You're listing them. Those are my hits. Organizational stability. And the big one is never tanking.
Yeah.
Because
and this is important because Tatum is coming back and people thought this could be a gap year for them.
And it wasn't even just that Tatum was coming back. Horford's gone, Drew Holiday's gone, Porzingis, who obviously has the health issues, but was a big part of them winning the championship. He's gone. A huge part of their team was gone. And then obviously Tatum got hurt last year at the end of the year, and we thought he's going to be out all year.
After the best season of his career.
Right. And then you combine that with the fact that this is probably the best NBA draft crop that we've had in a long time, that they didn't even have to tank to the bottom to get to the top or to get a great player to add to this group, top 5 or 6. They're going to get a quality player that's immediately impactful. And I think that had to cross their mind. It's something that you had to think about. And even fans were suggesting that they could do it and it'd be awesome. They'd be great. This team would be awesome. And they were excited about it, but they didn't. They're 2 in the East right now.
They're the 2 seed, yep.
They're overachieving based on all of our expectations. They brought along and developed all these younger players. Pritchard stepping up. I guess he's taking a backseat now in preparation for the return.
He was very good last year. He's actually been on a pretty ascending arc for a while. But yeah, he's taken a big step forward. I mean, the guards.
Against the Bucks, he was huge. He was the best player of the team against the Bucks. That's what I thought.
Yeah. No, I mean they've run the way they've used their guards this season and the way they've developed all of them from Derek White to Jaylen Brown, skill set developing from what he was as a rookie, if you're going to count him as a guard or a wing. And obviously Pritchard, who's someone he's a role player plus now. I know he's been the best player in certain games, but I think that's a fair assessment of him.
Yeah, of course.
The way that they've developed guards across the board has been pretty unique in the NBA.
Yeah. And I think overall that organization has been run really well. You go back to Danny Ainge and that stuff is fine. And I didn't root for him back then. I wasn't a fan back then, but I noticed myself starting to like them this year because of what they were doing in this situation when it was all set up for them to have a tankathon without even it being a clear telegraph move. They did not.
No,
they competed.
People thought, okay, reversing this back to when Tatum tore his Achilles, there were legitimate talks over the summer about would you trade Jaylen Brown and have this be a huge gap year? Because, we went in through the contract track minutia over the summer when we did multiple episodes on the second apron about how important it was to have roster flexibility. If you're not going to be competing for a title, you can't be locked in the apron era. And they were able to save money with the trades of Horford, Porzingis, and Drew Holiday. They've been able to rebuild the roster by finding guys, but also trading for Vucevic to be like a backup center for this team, giving the keys to Jaylen Brown rather than trading him. Even if that was just fanfic from people in the Boston media, it's the way it's worked. Like, we can talk about the organizational stability, but also Jaylen Brown has reached a different level. Like, he's been like an A1 NBA player, A1 NBA star, like potential first team All NBA guy this year, which I think, despite the Finals MVP, none of us really thought was going to happen when Tatum went down last year, particularly because Jaylen Brown last year did not have his best season.
Yeah, I mean, he's having his best season right now. He's leading the league in shots, which is a unique situation for him to be in. He's still taking on the number one defensive assignment. Like, when they played the Knicks, he's across from Jalen Brunson and taking on those assignments. Like, it's a big ask for somebody, and you would assume that this team would fall at least to the bottom of the East, but they're still at the top of the East the way that he's playing. I think the offense is Joe Mazzulla, I think, deserves a ton of credit. Like, I was going to say he was kind of a joke, but
he's still, a little bit.
I think that's like an unfair
saying choked
character.
out by his jiu-jitsu instructor. He watches The Town a lot. Like,
so I think
he leans into it.
I think that he was viewed as like an eccentric guy, but now it's like eccentric basketball mind. It's like, he's weird, but this works. And I believe
people are comparing him to Nick Sirianni. Except seriously,
I know, but I was intentionally avoiding that comparison because I don't think that people think about Nick Sirianni as a basketball or a football savant as much as they think about him as like or at least they don't see it on the court, on the field, in the same way that you could argue the offensive adjustments from Mazzulla you see on.
But I don't think we knew he was actually good initially. We thought he was maybe filling in
Mazzulla.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so it's like we thought he was this like personality, like weird guy, but we also didn't know if he was just a proxy for the way that Brad Stevens has run the organization, or filling in for Udoka and the way that they'd coached, and then obviously developed a system where they're shooting a ton of threes, and that's adapted to the personnel that they've had. Like, he's a basketball sicko.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the adaptation is the proof. And even with him winning a championship, like, it was clear that team was the best team in basketball and the most talented and flexible team in basketball when he won that championship. So I think it's hard to give him credit. What he's done this year makes it pretty clear to me that if anybody, I guess that would be an interesting conversation to have. I wonder what you think of the three guys of Mazzulla, Jaylen Brown, and Brad Stevens, kind of the three big figures in this right now. Who do you think comes out of this, like, having gained the most cachet? Because, like, Brad Stevens...
Cachet? That's an interesting way of putting it, because I'd say the most cachet... The most for that, I think, is Jaylen Brown, because he's just going to be the most famous of them.
Well, I guess cachet is the wrong way, because I don't care about the cachet. I think it's probably, like, for you personally, respect. Because I think for me, it might be Mazzulla. I think the obvious answer is Jaylen Brown, because he took over at this offense, or took over this team in the number one role in offense, and it hasn't taken a step back. What are they, like, second in the league in offenses and like fifth in defense?
They're second in offensive rating, ninth in defensive rating.
And that jumps out and it's loud, and maybe that should be the right answer. But I believe a lot of the, like, appreciation I had for Jaylen Brown, like, grew last year when they were like, all right, we can't penetrate, no one can get to the basket, and he kind of took over and was that, and they've built the offense around that penetration ability this year. I guess Mazzulla being able to incorporate these players that Stevens brought in makes me lean more Mazzulla. You disagree?
No, I mean, like, they're all, like, valid answers. Like, genuinely, like we could first take it and be like, I got Brad Stevens. they're all totally
That's what
valid.
we were doing. So, like, the point was to bring it up, and then we would, like, have the conversation and end up explaining how everyone has value.
I think the answer, like, the most unique of them is Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
I genuinely think the fact that he's obviously, I think he was probably the best coach in the NBA when he was coaching. He had an understanding of the locker room of, like, when it was time to step back, and the fact the way he's handled being a general manager being largely responsible for this build post Danny Ainge. We thought it was stalling out after they lost in the finals to the Warriors, ending up with the title, ending up being able to manage the situation of having salary cap flexibility, having Tatum be on the verge of a comeback from Achilles injury, and like still being in the 2 seed. Like he's managed his draft capital and salary cap and roster masterfully in a way that's like, I don't know, like he doesn't have the track record of winning a bunch of titles yet as a GM, but it's like on the track of a Pat Riley, potentially Jerry West type of track of him making the right decision over and over and over again about the right buttons to push. And like, it's so silly because it's like taking the credit away from the people on the court doing that but it's just, it's so rare the way that he's been able. No one else besides him and Presti have managed the second apron era well. Just those two.
That's why it's fair of you to criticize the question that I asked, because it puts you in that position to have to take something away from someone else. You're right. I think we can appreciate them all individually. It does remind me a little bit, and of course, my background is in football, so I think about all that stuff. It's like as we move more into a restrictive salary cap era,
the GMs are going to become so much more important.
They're so much more valuable than they were in the past. It's like having that long-term vision, which is combined with the stability and getting that position right, I think, is because it's going to be so much harder to have, like, if you're lucky enough to get 4 or 5 great players, you're not going to be able to keep them for an extended period of time.
And players on shorter contracts.
Right. And I also think that the development part, again, coming from football, the development of young players is forced upon you. Like, because of the salary cap and because of the size of the rosters, you're going to have to play young guys. In the NBA, it's a little bit different, or it has been different. That
if you're a good team, it's different.
Yeah.
If you're a bad team, like the regular season is a development league for bad teams playing. It can be negative or it can be positive, but when you're playing in low stakes games.
And maybe I'm wrong, but it feels less frequent to have a good team develop a new piece. I just think about the teams that have had good runs, and it feels like those teams, when they change parts, it's trades or it's free agent signings. It's rarely that you develop something. You see with Kuminga, like, I know he's not the greatest player in the league right now, but he looks much better than he did with the Warriors. There's something about these like established teams that it feels hard to have players develop and grow in their role in the same way that the Celtics.
Some of the stuff I do think is like luck, obviously, like they're like the player development thing, but some of it's like hitting the home run with the draft pick of it. Yeah. Like VJ Edgecombe and I guess he's been getting immediately Tyrese Maxey. Maxey's an incredible development case on a team that's like was on a very different timeline. Even Brunson in Dallas when Luka was there, that was like, obviously he took this huge jump with the Knicks, but he was someone who's averaging 20 plus per game in the playoffs, who was developed from a second round pick. So like there are ways to do it. It's just, it's weird. It seems like around team timeline, and we've gotten like LeBron pilled a little bit on this, where it's like, if you aren't ready to win this year, like get your out of town. But teams who are like young and good can develop talent, I think, around the edges. It's once you're in like the 1 year and you're out type of stuff, which is, to your point, like as this becomes more and more like football in the way that the roster is managed, those are going to be harder to do.
It's really difficult because we'll always make the argument, and I'll always make the argument, not necessarily maybe you disagree, is that you have to go all in to win a championship. And when you go all in to win a championship, meaning...
You mean like...
all your resources, whatever you can, and obviously it's not true. You don't have to do that, but it makes sense to go all in. All your resources are dedicated to making this team win right now, and will pay the cost of it later. You trade away all your draft picks. You only sign veterans that you know can contribute and have playoff experience, and you go all in on a championship run now. It just makes the margins for error so much slimmer when you're also like bringing in young players to fill those roles. And so a lot of the teams that we point to as having developed newer talents aren't championship teams, aren't even made it to playoff team, or aren't even made it to like finals team. Like the Celtics won a championship with Pritchard on the roster, and now he's developed into a bigger piece of the pie.
I kind of disagree that you need to go all in on this stuff. I mean, I think that's like it's been in the player empowerment era. It's like you have this solar system that you got to make sure everything revolves around LeBron or whomever, Durant, whatever, and trade everything you can to get that. But like certainly the Thunder aren't doing that.
Right.
the Thunder have been able to maintain optionality with all their picks and build around that for a long time. And the Spurs were the same way. Like so much of the NBA in the past was like, and it still is to an extent, having this great player that you can build around. But like, I don't know. I think that's like much more LeBron being able to have leverage over the organizations, being like, go in all of this now. And like, once I've eaten up all your resources, I'm going to leave.
Right. And I guess
I don't think you have to do that at all. I don't think Jerry
agree.
West would do that. I don't think the Warriors would have done that in the Steph era. Like they ended up getting Durant and it didn't matter. It was a fait accompli, but like they f***ed up their 2 timelines thing because they f***ed up the draft picks, not because they were going to give up the resources, because they drafted Kuminga and Wiseman over LaMelo Ball and Halliburton and Franz Wagner, et cetera, et cetera. That's like, to me, it's like, I don't know.
I think you're probably right. I guess my point is that was the model for the NBA, right? It felt like, and maybe it was because it was LeBron pilled. It felt like that's what teams were doing.
Who else other than LeBron?
I mean, everyone was trading away there. We saw the Bucks did it. Like everyone's,
I guess the Bucks definitely did
the
it.
Suns did it. Like the Rockets did it. I'm not saying that it worked, but I'm saying that was believed to be the model. It wasn't like, I'm not pulling this out my. Like everyone was trading away.
About the Bucks one. The Bucks one is the other example. It's like
the example where it worked. It's not the only other example where people tried it.
Clippers tried it, I guess.
Yeah, like everyone was trading away everything in order to accumulate as much talent as possible, and it felt like this is what you should be doing. Yeah. While they were doing it, they were trading it to the Thunder, who were building for a newer future.
The Thunder and the Rockets.
Yeah, who were building for a new future. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think it's completely crazy. I guess my point is, I was saying that I thought that was the only way to do it, but I think that was the only way that we saw it being done. Obviously, there are other ways to do it, and I think the Celtics are an example that's even more impressive to me. Well, I guess I shouldn't compare them. It's as impressive as the Thunder to me because they won a championship while continuing to create this transition. I guess they'll have to win another one at some point with a different group around them to completely justify it. But I think that's super impressive because while the Celtics were making a run, the Thunder were like prepping to make a run, which is a little bit easier, I think, when you're stockpiling draft picks and being a way station in order to collect enough draft picks to get what you want.
Yeah, I mean, this requires like some look at the NBA history of this because the Celtics also had this totally jump started by the fact that Prokhorov was an idiot, and they had this Nets trade that led to both Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. Then they were able to fleece the Sixers in the Markelle Fultz trade because of a terrible workout. And they were able to do that when the process had gotten hijacked by the NBA and they'd put in the Colangelo with the big collars who made a terrible trade. It was probably incredibly clear for people who are seeing those workouts that Tatum should have been the first pick in that draft. Ironically, I know that Fultz truthers will say that before his shoulder injuries, yips or whatever, he was the guy. But there are so many things that went right for them.
Right.
They were... For all the things that went wrong with like the Kyrie years and stuff, they also had a ton of stuff that was like incredibly lucky. Whereas the Thunder was like really forward facing. That was like a long-term plan to basically like, we're in Oklahoma City. We're not a prestige franchise. We're after Durant left. How do we do this? And it was like a genuine 10-year build. And then that coincided with an amazing stroke of luck. It's almost like they were given such an advantage by having all those picks going into the second apron era. When teams couldn't do this stuff, they were positioned in a way that's better than everyone. So it's like, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Again, you caught me making comparisons when I shouldn't make comparisons. They're both pretty impressive.
It's just like so hard to say. They've each won the title in the last like...
Right. I guess the distinction I was making, which I would take back on being better or worse, is like it felt like the Thunder were clearly bottomed out while they were collecting this. Like the Celtics really haven't had that bottom out period. So like it's impressive to be consistently competitive and also still feel like you have a future. That's the 2 timelines thing that the Warriors tried and failed to do despite having really high draft picks.
Well, so I want to talk about the Tatum stuff for a little bit because like we've talked about the things around the organization, but like he is coming back. It's really cool he's coming back in like 7 months or 8 months from his Achilles injury, and it's amazing. I expect him to like look good even if it's starting next year. But like, first of all, I want to get through a bunch of angles of this, but does a tiny part of you wish you could see what they could do without him in the postseason in the Open East?
Not really, because I don't think he's gonna come back in the way that it feels like it's gonna be a huge deciding factor. Like I still feel like it's not. I mean, it's going to be Jaylen Brown's team at least through this season. And maybe that's another conversation to see if
It could easily be his team moving forward.
Right. Like I actually like if you compare the way that the offense is played with him as the point man, or at least him as the primary scorer, it's a lot more penetration where the threes feel like a result of his penetration, which it feels different on Jayson Tatum where it feels like the point was to get to the threes. But that's a stylistic thing. Obviously, they can win both ways. But I don't, and maybe I'll be wrong, I'm less optimistic about the version of Jayson Tatum that we're going to see. I don't think that'll be bad. Like, he's going to be able to catch and shoot. We'll see how good he is on defense, which was...
It's just crazy that he's like playing in March.
Which is why it's hard for me to imagine this next step where it's like he's playing great in April and June. Like, that's harder for me to imagine.
I have honestly, like, the Durant thing like broke my brain on Achilles stuff because I know he's like way more like statuesque than he was when you look like his like 2014 highlights. He's also almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, the Nets years, some of it was like some of the best basketball I've ever seen him play. Like the year like where his toe was on the line, and like he was clearly the best player in the postseason.
That was after
I know it was like 2 years after an Achilles injury.
2 years.
No,
after
I'm just saying.
Achilles
But
injury.
before that, there was the thing being like guys don't come back from the Achilles. Right. They're gonna look like Dominique Wilkins playing for the Celtics, and it's like now with Tatum, he's 26 years old. He's coming back from this. Like, if he looked like totally fine, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not trying to like say that that's going to happen.
Right.
I'm just saying like my whole concept of the recovery from that injury has been warped by Durant.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's fair, but like you said, it's 2 years after Achilles, which people normally say that even the first year back, you don't feel great. 7 months after an Achilles injury, like that's where it's harder for me to make the leap. Like, will he get back to a full version of Jayson Tatum eventually? Like, I'm much more optimistic on that than I would have been pre-Durant. I'm not super optimistic that he's going to be able to offer as much as I think. As much as you're insinuating by suggesting that we're not going to see this team driven through the playoffs with like on the back of Jaylen Brown. Like, I still think that I know he said, Doc, I'm not coming back to be a role player.
In his docu-series, he was sitting on the training table. Yeah.
But he is. Like, to me, he is.
I think he can run the second unit. He can also like he'll. I mean, I don't know. I
guess it's silly for us to try to predict how he's going to come back. Injury.
Can you imagine if he like takes the last shot in a playoff game and misses it? Can you imagine the discourse?
I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, I guess he could be left open in the corner. He's obviously gonna be on the floor and like.
Do you think it's hard for Jayson Tatum with this too to see what's going on? Like,
of course,
obviously,
100%.
Well, I'm just some of the background on it. He won a title with Jaylen Brown winning Eastern Conference and Finals MVP. He got benched in the Olympics, and that became a story. His like mom got involved. People thought he was gonna be like a clear 1A, and it's like flip-flopped a bunch, and now he's gonna return with Brown having this season, and like what's he supposed to do? Like be the franchise guy or like fit in, or how do you handle this type of situation? Because I mean, he's a winning player. He's been about winning his entire time and like ultra professional, but like mentally it's also a lot for you would be inhuman not to like think about these things.
Next year is when I think it becomes an issue. My guess is, and this is probably influenced by the fact that I'm like less bullish on his 7-month return than it sounds like you and a lot of other people.
No, I'm not bullish. I just have no idea. Like nothing would surprise me with it.
It would surprise me if he was playing well enough to be like upset that he's not the number one option. Next year, that's the question, because this team has had success. I think it's harder. Of course, he's going to feel a certain way about it, but it's harder for him to get inserted into this team that's prepared for this season, assuming they weren't going to have him, had success this season without having him, and he comes back record time from Achilles injury. Like, even if he wants and feels weird about whatever, I think he's self-aware enough to know, like, nah, I'm going to fit in this year. Where it becomes a problem is next year at training camp. Are they going to adjust the offense back to the way it was? Is he going to be the guy who gets the last shot? Or like that assumed person who gets to make the decisions and they want the ball in his hands in the final seconds? That's where I think it would be harder. That's when I guess Missoula's really going to have to do his coaching and interpersonal management of the personalities and the players on that team. But that to me is more interesting than what happens this year, because I think Jayson Tatum just get in where he fit in for most of this.
So this year, if you're coaching it, how would you handle his return? Just like it's just limiting the stuff, ramping it up, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly, despite I know I brought up what he said in the documentary, but I would treat him like a role player and see that'd be my initial thing. It's like, look, play good defense, stand in the corner. We'll give you one or two actions where you can be the ball handler at the top of the key and make a decision with the second unit. But like, you're coming off an Achilles tear in record time. Chill.
How devastating would that be if they like made the finals with him as like a role player?
Yeah. Then we're done. Then we're done. And next year, man, you go ahead to stand it. I think they can go back to what
you get
they
friend
were
zoned.
Yeah, they'll go back to what they were before. I just think that the hierarchy changes.
Yeah.
It's like he then becomes 1B, and that'll be hard as hell to pull off. And you told the story from Jayson Tatum's perspective. I think Jaylen Brown is just as interesting. When you were talking about Jayson Tatum being benched for the Olympics, like Jaylen Brown was pissed because
they chose Derek White over him.
They invited Derek White and not him. And he's been going through this his whole career where it feels like he's always thought he was better than he was getting credit for. And when things were going wrong, it was like the reason why it's going wrong is because he can't go left. And he had to be thinking like, damn.
Of course I can go left.
Of course I could go left. And they don't let me they won't build the offense around me. You'll see what I can really do. And then he gets finals MVP, and it's still like, maybe we should tank this whole season.
They should trade me.
Yeah, maybe they should trade him. And now he is demonstrating by Instagram and otherwise that it's always been on his mind, and it's always been weighing on him, and he's taken this opportunity to prove it all. I assume that he is more than happy to welcome Jayson Tatum back in this role. I don't think that he would feel as good about it if they decided.
Do you think he's, just like as an athlete in this, do you think he's like run through these simulations in his head, thought about this stuff?
Hell yeah. I'm sure.
Do you think it's the happiest year of his career?
Yes. I would guess so. I mean, I think that he probably wouldn't say it, and for fear of sounding like selfish. But if anybody who's listening or watching this, like, how could it not feel great to have a career, a successful, impressive career, but to feel like second-class citizen or second-class superstar your entire career, where it's like, all right, he was drafted higher than me. All right, I don't go to the Olympics. All right, I'm not the number one option. I'm not the guy who's all NBA. I'm not on the cover of the billboards and all that stuff. Even though you know you're good enough to have the one season where this team is less talented than those teams that Jayson Tatum led, and they're just as good, and you're leading. It has to be vindicating and incredible.
So has your perception changed more of Tatum or Brown this season?
It's Brown for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Tatum, it's hard for the perception to change. I mean, he hasn't done anything. I think that I was one of the people who assumed that this was going to be a lost year, not just because I think that Jaylen Brown is not as good as Jayson Tatum, which I thought.
Yeah.
But also because this team wasn't.
Well, it's also just like normally it's like, you know the Tom Moore, like, why does Peyton Manning take all the snaps to practice?
Yeah.
Because we don't practice.
Yeah.
It's like the NBA is like an extreme version of that. Like, you lose your top 5 player, your multiple all NBA guy who's like leading the league in minutes since he's entered the league. You're supposed to be like dead. That's where
it's Kurt Warner. Like,
yeah.
it's you. Your starting quarterback got hurt, and somehow you still have a successful season. I know people have made lists of other times when superstar players have gotten hurt. There's not a real long list of it's like, of teams having this type of success.
It's such a funny crossroads. Like, we thought that, like, we've talked about the Tatum and Brown pairing for years. Can they win the title? Do they have to trade Brown, et cetera? They win a title where Jaylen Brown wins the MVP. Jayson Tatum follows it up having the best season of his career. Mm. He gets hurt, and now Jaylen Brown does this, and he's like the lead guy, and that whole interaction, that whole dynamic is completely different now. It's going to be completely different for the rest of their careers together.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I guess that they both of the players, obviously incredible careers, deserve a ton of like admiration. Wasn't it? It was Jayson Tatum who was saying not too long ago about having a statue outside the arena, how he's competing with Larry Bird and other organizations.
I don't remember that, but that tracks.
Yeah, it was on some podcast where he was saying how hard it's going to be for him to get a statue, and now it feels like just like getting the ball for the final shot on the team is now an uphill battle. But either way, I like this team. I'm rooting for them.
No, it's one of the cool stories. It's like, and it's there's been so much talk about the NBA and like the like. We've been guilty of it too, talking about the tanking or load management or X, Y, and Z. And it's like to see a team buck that and also like play hard, value the regular season, value player development and stuff. It's hopefully, when Silver like started thinking how much we want parity, how we want this to be, like I assume he thought of teams that were going to develop like and use the rules the way the Celtics have, because that's the way that NFL team building is like really interesting and applying some of that stuff to the NBA. So like, it's like this team's awesome to watch. They're super fun. We talked a little bit about the Missoula stuff, like his adaptability, he has ethos about shooting threes, but being able to do it in different ways. It's just like, it's a remarkably impressive season for a group like this.
Are you at all worried about when they get in the playoffs and like this, you get focused around Jaylen Brown, that this team may not be as good as their regular season record shows?
Of course, but the East is so wide open that like that's possible. Like carrying out the regular season, there are rabbit teams like that in the NBA all the time, where a team has like a good regular season. Like, we don't totally believe in them, but they're also playing with house money, and they might be like the free team that's just really, really good.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the East again, and certainly not the West, which is like, there's nothing more NBA than the East not being quite as good as the West.
It's crazy. It's been like this for like 25 years.
All the people on the East Coast, we watched at Eastern time.
I know.
Get some top teams over here.
The Timberwolves must want expansion so badly to move to the East.
Yeah, they're pretty. I mean,
Seattle and Vegas. Let's get.
I mean, New Orleans is the one that's obvious, but I mean, they wouldn't be competitive. But like, that's the obvious Western team that I'm sure wants to be on the East. Anyway, did we leave enough time for the story? Are you not in the right frame of mind to sell out another one of your Kramers?
Well,
can we give a rundown of the Kramers that we've shared so far? Because you are in a crew of Kramers.
We have my friend who thinks he could dribble to half court on Kawhi Leonard.
Yes.
We have my friend who chugs really fast.
We got the one who
was a crackhead.
Yes, that one. Yeah, him. What about I guess the Marine's not a Kramer, really.
3-point stance guy.
Yeah, 3-point stance guy.
He's different. He takes himself too seriously to be a full Kramer. But yeah, so I have a friend who. Domonique was. He's talking about how we talked about bathrooms and how gross NFL offensive linemen are.
Oh yeah,
and how
that was the last episode.
Yeah, and how famously an anonymous NFL lineman thought it was hilarious to poop in urinals or poop on the floor. And
I was stunned by these stories, or not stunned by these stories, but repulsed by these stories, because like on a football team, there's certainly different cultures based on position. DBs are not like baseball players and offensive linemen and hockey players, in that we don't like the gross. It's like, it's not our thing.
And I was like, honestly, the lineman thing, I was like, this sounds more like weird baseball guy than that. And I was like, for example, I had a friend he's a large man.
How large?
Like 6'7", 280 when he pitched. And is a very good, he got some checks, not from the big league level to pitch, and he once just decided to wear a diaper to a college party and in the diaper. And I was like, that's intentionally. Like, this was his plan. It wasn't a Halloween party. It wasn't a diaper party. It wasn't anything about it. Like, no one else was there. It's just some white guy humor. I don't know what to tell you. Like you talking about Family Matters last episode, and I'm telling you that like there are some like some dudes that think poop is funny.
So the bad part is, I also think it's funny. However, I would not have thought it was funny at the moment. Like, looking back on it, it's hilarious because it's so outrageous. I think the most impressive or the most interesting thing to me about you and all your Kramers is that they all like go on to live like normal, successful lives. I would assume that the type of person who does some of the that your friends do, there's no way they could go on to live normal, successful lives. Like I had one, I guess he wasn't my friend, but PP Greg, elementary school, used to pee on himself all the time. He had a Ninja Turtle watch that went off once an hour to remind him to go to the bathroom. He got the name PP Greg. PP Greg had a problem. PP Greg didn't go on to be the valedictorian of high school and go have a great, successful life. Your mans choose to his pants in the middle of a college party. No intention of taking anybody home. Like, that's why I went to parties in college. I need to make friends. He was like, no, I'm going to myself.
That's right.
And that went on. It probably got married and had kids and worked somewhere important.
I mean... I don't know what to say.
No, there's nothing to say. I think
I've never thought about it this way.
This is the way that I view it. This is our cultural exchange for the day. Last time I taught you about black sitcoms, and now you're teaching me about white frat boy humor.
It's the coolest way to be cool is to just not be cool.
Oh, now we're gonna have the cool talk. That's another show where
it's degaffing. You just need to.
I know, but no one knows how much I hate that you think that you're the decider of who's cool.
I am the arbiter of cool.
You do. So yeah, Charlie tells me all the time who is cool and not cool. I'm like, but you're not cool. And he's like, exactly.
And what you're doing to me is you're saying you didn't have your hand in the dirt. You can't analyze the game. That's what you're saying to me.
I'm sorry. Don't get mad at me. You can analyze the game. Thank you, Charlie. Thanks to Charlie. Thanks to all the great producers. Pavel, I love you. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.